A lot of testing. Look at how many. Welcome to another episode, Chadrick's Tech. You saw the introduction to the testing that I was going to be doing. Let's take a quick peek at the methodology here today. The test bench is the same AMD test bench that I've been using, the 9900X CPU with the ASRock Tai-Chi Lite motherboard with 6000 megahertz transfer DDR5 memory. The standard configuration is update the BIOS, change nothing except load the XMP or Expo profile, and run the tests. No other overclocking. Then when we get to looking at overclocking, it'll be a PBO setting that I will keep consistent through the entire process so that we can also push the CPU a little bit. SSD, pretty standard equipment down the line here is a 4080 Super on this bench right now. I included it here, but it's really inconsequential. We're not going to be using any GPU related tasks. It's all going to be CPU focus. The pump is going to be locked at somewhere around 2.5. When I was talking to coolants, when I was preparing for my Intel information, they told me that you had to have a minimum of 1.5 liters per minute of water flow. So that doesn't mean that you're going to get better cooling if you run your pump at 100% versus if you run your pump slower than that. There's a happy medium, there's a give and take. There's a lifespan on this equipment too. So I usually run my system somewhere around 1.8, 2.2. I might drop that number from 2.5 down, but whatever I drop it to, I will make it known and I will maintain its consistency throughout all the testing, because every block will flow just a little different and I may have to adjust the flow rate to make sure it gets locked in. I'll use probably the most common radiator size, a 360 millimeter radiator with 3 fans, 3 120 millimeter fans, and I will lock those fans at 1300 RPM, something that's reasonable for airflow rate, but yet not obnoxious, because you wouldn't want to run your system like that nonstop anyway. So it's a happy medium between the two. And then I'm using coolants and Corsair fitting, tubing, the quick connect fittings, and then I will be using some coolants inline temp sensors and water flow just to make sure that I'm testing my delta water temp as well. And then I will be using that water temperature to normalize the CPU temperatures so that it is the same, that we can compare them across the board. The hardware that I'm going to be looking at here is maybe a couple more blocks than I originally did with the testing. There's 3 of them on the list that I've used previously with the Intel benchmarks. I'm planning on doing the Coolants 380i for nostalgia purposes again. It didn't do bad against this older tech didn't do bad in the Intel testing. I just want to see how it pairs with the AMD. I did make some changes to the AMD or to the Intel testing before and stopped using it. A, you can't get it, and B, I was just wanting to really see how well it would do. The Heatkiller 4 Pro didn't pair as well last time as I was really expecting it to. I'm really hoping it shines here with the AMD. The EK Velocity 2 I picked up specifically for this testing. I think that's pretty common block that people like to see compared to. The AlphaCool Core 1 was a top performing block in my Intel testing. You can also use the same block here for my AM5 platform. And then I've got 2 Optimus water blocks. As I mentioned before, there's a full brass heavy version it's the same construction as all my Intel blocks. When I got my first AMD version, it was an aluminum top. It says that the water path doesn't touch the aluminum and it cools similarly. We're going to see how similar it really is. And then Thermal Grizzly has a Micro Direct Die Pro, and the Intel version performs spectacularly. I can't wait to see how well it does here on this AMD platform. And then we've got direct die frames. Whenever we get to this, we will use mix and match just to make sure that everything functions the way that it should, and we get good contact between the die and whatever block we're using. If I can't use a block for whatever its size or anything, then I'll note that and we will move on with the testing. So the software that I'm going to use listed here, I don't want to read it all to you, but we're going to focus on CPU only. What I did learn from my Intel testing is that if it would throttle, I wouldn't use that configuration. I would just chuck it. You're like, well, it just didn't go that high for very long. What's the big deal? Well, temperature is temperature, heat is heat, right? So if it throttles once on me, I'm done with it. I have no interest at all in saying that that's a good configuration. There's got to be something better. And I did learn that Prime 95 was the hottest test that I would run. And so a lot of the times I was saving Prime 95 to the end and it would throttle. And like, I just wasted all this time running through the test, letting the water cool back down so that I could have some sort of repeatability here and not have to do so much correction on my water temps. And then got to Prime 95 and it would throttle. I'm like, well, I got to chuck that configuration. So what I realized, I will start with Prime 95 now. If it throttles on Prime 95, I'm not running the rest of them. It's just not even worth doing. It's just, it throttled, I'm done. So live and learn, right? The others are really good in terms of, for what the tests that they are. It's just Prime 95 just happens to be a pretty good heat generator. OCCT and AIDA64, they're not bad either. I may take some liberties with, I think they're the same versions, but if I do make a version change, it will be noted on the results section. And then I also want to look at performance. So you want them to run cool, but if they run cool and don't perform well, what's the point? You wouldn't want that configuration either. So there's got to be a good balance of the performance that you would expect and the temperatures that you get. And so just a few here, just to wet your whistle, performance test and the two Cinebenches. And I'll just grab an average and we'll see the performance differences with these blocks and how well they perform. Then I'll tease out the tests for temperature and pull the temperature data, and then I will normalize the temperature data. And so instead of just reporting, because ambient temperature will affect how hot or cool your CPU and system blocks and everything will run. So if you normalize to water temperature, you should be repeatable. Now, it's different if you don't start a test when it's 35 degrees and say, I'm going to normalize it down to 22. I'm going to not do that. I'm going to try to let the system run and cool the water to get it down to a degree or two close. It's 'cause sometimes you'll sit and wait for 15, 20 minutes in between tests. I didn't anticipate that kind of time when I was doing this the first time. That's why it really takes a lot of time. And you're going to see just how many tests and variables we're getting ready to run. Remember, for every situation, I'm running all of these tests. This is page 1 of the testing and the variables. So there's 38 configurations on this page. Now remember, every test configuration will be run twice because I want to run in the OEM situation, and then I'm going to go in the BIOS and enable PBO and run in that situation. Okay, and then finally 69 total tests. So 69 times 2, that's how many tests I potentially will be running to look at this AMD AM5 platform and what configuration might run the best for you. So let's take a quick peek at these a little bit more detail and then actually a screen that you can read, right? Because I do realize there's a lot of followers that are using their cell phones right now. Don't cuss me yet. Hang in there. Now we're looking at the first 12 tests. Okay, so color-coded these things. Green, tests 1 through 12, which is 12 times 2. Anyway, you see this is what tests will keep the warranty and what configuration is the best. We've got the contact frame. Now, on the Intel side, I used the OEM IHS, and then I put the contact frame on to see if there was a difference. There really wasn't a difference, and there's a good reason for that, because I use brand new hardware for that, and most of this stuff is brand new as well. So I don't think there's going to be a difference between the contact frame and the OEM mechanism. The Intel side is much more susceptible to the uneven pressure, but that happens over time. And this was all brand new stuff. So I've just forego the mechanism and went right to the contact frame this time. And then what was the medium, the cooling medium that I use? So we'll start with Hydronaut, then we go to Duranaut. And remember, we can't use liquid metal even if we keep the OEM IHS, because the liquid metal will tarnish and wear off the inscribed verbiage on top of the CPU, and your warranty's void. So you're only able to use thermal paste. You can't use liquid metal and keep your warranty. And we're not delidding it. So this is all that keeps your warranty that I will be testing. Everything else, what warranty? Right? We're enthusiasts here. We're going to try to get through this. I will present this, but I'm sure that everybody here is waiting on the really good stuff, right? So it's basically Hydronaut for coolants, the EK, heat killer, Alpha Cool Core 1, the Optimus aluminum, the Optimus brass, and then change pace. Do it again and run all of those tests for each of these situations and fill up a Excel table. All right, so let's get more aggressive here and look at tests 13 through 18. That's the contact frame, and then it's liquid metal. So run every one of the blocks in an OE type situation, but use liquid metal and see how much better liquid metal does versus thermal pastes that I used previously. And then, all right, let's get serious now. It's time to delid. So now let's take the lid off and let's hope I got a viable CPU, because the tolerances are much tighter here, but I trust the Thermal Grizzly product. It couldn't have been any easier to delid the Intel platform. I used a couple other ones. If you saw my delidding video, it was a disaster to try to pull the IHS off with the Iceman. It was not good. The Thermal Grizzly pulls it right off, no problem. The most risky piece of delidding an Intel is getting the glue off the PCB. Don't gouge the PCB and mess with the traces. That is the only thing you got to worry about. Pulling the lid is nothing. Now, on the AMD, you have much tighter tolerances, and you've got to go back and forth. And through attrition, we're going to have to bust the glue loose to get the lid off. And don't worry, I will show you every step that I take, whether it's a good step or a bad step, whether I trash this thing, I will do it on camera, and you'll know. I air everything, so you'll know exactly what you're in for better or worse, right? So, okay, so test 29 through 33, we've now delidded the CPU, and we're going to use a heat spreader, and then on the thermal medium IHS to the cooler, the top layer, start with Hydronaut, we'll put Hydronaut underneath the heat spreader to the die. So Hydronaut in both spots, and you run a cooler. Now, if you can imagine, now I've got two places for thermal material. Wowzers, the variables just shot through the roof, right? And then the next heat killer would be Duranaut on the die on top of the heat spreader. And then it would be liquid metal on the die. And then can we get away with a thermal paste on top of the heat spreader, which it did okay on the Intel runs, but we couldn't use paste on the die. It would throttle every time. I'm trying not to waste my time. If you're going to delid for all that is holy, use liquid metal. But can you get away with using paste on top? Or do you need liquid metal in both situations? And what can you get away with here in terms of what you're reasonably comfortable with in terms of your heat numbers? Okay, now let's get up close and personal on tests 49 through 66. We've taken the heat spreader off, and now we're just on the direct die frame. So the CPU's in, direct die frame is down, it's delidded, completely exposed, there's no IHS, no other medium there. And what can we set the block down directly on the die and get good contact, good heat transfer, and make it effective? Now, on the Intel side, I wasn't able to use the Optimus blocks in that configuration. The blocks are so huge that they would contact the components around the socket. So I couldn't do this with the direct die frame on the Intel side. I don't think I'm going to get away with it here on the AMD side, but the core Alpha Cool Core 1 I could do it with, the coolants I could do it with. I doubt I'll be able to use the EK because that's a very big block too, but we'll see. I'll see if I can set it down on there and get contact. We will give it a shot one way or the other. But which each of those situations, can I use Hydronaut directly on the die? Duranaut directly on the die, or do I have to use liquid metal? I'm going to go out on a limb and say if you're really wanting the best performance, we're going to be leaning toward liquid metal. That will be the superior medium, but let's just see what we get. Okay, and then let's go all in and stop waiting around in the shallow end and use a cooler that was specifically made for direct die cooling. How well does that Micro Direct Die Pro V1 perform? It did an amazing job in the Intel side. I can't wait to see how well it does on the AMD side. But there's far fewer variables there. There's paste and liquid metal, and that's pretty much it. And then run your tests. So with that, you can see just how many variables, how many tests, and hopefully how long this might take me. I need more dedicated time to this business. I have so many really great ideas, and I like doing research and things like that. I have an analytical mind. It's stemmed from healthcare and healthcare research. It's kind of fun to try to transpose that over into the technology world and within computer and enthusiast group. It's fun. I just need more time to do it because I don't like there being such a big lull in the gap, because you got this YouTube funky algorithm that you're like, this guy's not posting, he must be done. Let's drop his videos. So, well, in the meantime, I'm actually still doing other GPU testing, trying to finish it up. It's going to be a huge database with all the different configurations and types and numbers and everything. So I've still got that in the works to bring to you. I've got this that I'm trying to kick off that I will do my due diligence to get this data out as quickly as I possibly can. I just built a TrueNAS server and I'm trying to feature that. And I was anticipating potentially making a huge update to the Office rig, and I'm really debating what I'm going to do with that, but I'll let you know sort of where I am and what I've decided. Maybe you find that interesting, maybe you won't, but those won't be long videos. It's just something fun that I just let you know sort of what's going on in the office and the business side of things here, of what else we're up to. So with that, I hope you found the methodology at least intriguing. I hope you'll stick with me. Stay safe. God bless.